Well, there was a cartoon that I saw many, many years ago that has stayed with me. And at the top of the cartoon, it said, Buffy was very disappointed in her first trip to the Himalayas. And then you see all the Himalayan crags, and a tiny little path weaving through all these treacherous mountains. And there's a rope bridge that's ragged and broken. And it's just this terrible, dangerous trip. So you see all that she's gone through, and she's made it up to the little cave where the guru is. And she's asked the guru, so please tell me, what is the meaning of life? How do I find happiness? And the guru has answered, my child, happiness lies within you. And then you see the balloon that has Buffy's irate response. She says, what? Happiness is within me? I've just come all this way and that's all you can tell me? Poor Buffy. She's been looking for happiness outside of herself. She's been looking for it everywhere, just like we do. The roller coaster of highs and lows and likes. I like this person. I can't stand that person. This, I have good health. No, I have bad health. Oh, I have good health again. Oh, up and down and up and down. And we're always looking for distractions. Okay, well, if I get this, then I'll be happy. If that person likes me, then I'll be happy. If this works, then maybe I'll be happy. After a while, we start remembering all the past suffering and how things just don't work out that well. And it starts affecting our hopes for the future. And then we start thinking, maybe there's a better way. And then we come to the practice of yoga. We have to become inwardly tranquil. We have to become even-minded. If you think of a little rowboat out on the ocean, a little rowboat is going to be tossed. Every little ripple, every little wave is going to toss the rowboat hither and yon, capsize it, it's lost. We have to become like a big ocean liner with thousands of people on board. Imagine one of those really big ocean liners. You can just cut through those waves without a tremor. That's what we want in life. We want to be so strong and so centered and so deep that the little hardships of life don't even register. Can you imagine that state? That's what we want. And Yogananda has given us a path that helps us to do that. Our path is one of service and meditation. It's an ideal path. He's saying to meditate without any other thought except union with the divine. Meditate with inner communion. Meditate on the true reality. That's how our little Buffy is going to find the secret of happiness. She has to go within. And it's so easy to say, well, I've looked inside, there's nothing there. It's not that easy to find it. It's not easy. But it is simple. Quiet the mind and go within. That's why studying the teachings are so incredibly valuable, because you start filling your mind with these truths that just were not published this week in Time magazine. They've been around for thousands and thousands of years. These gurus, these great masters, are people who have found this truth. And it didn't start with them either. It's ancient. The rishis in timelessness found these truths, and it works. That's why it's been passed down through all these thousands of years. And it still works today. Dharmadas was telling me a study about the breathing rate, that it should be between 10 and 20 breaths per minute. And in the old textbooks, it used to say 8 to 12. And we were talking about how our modern society is so much more agitated that we're even breathing faster. So this path of service and meditation can help us reach that inner tranquility. When I was very young on the path, I remember Swami saying to me, I was going through a lot of personal turmoil at that point, and he said, forget about yourself and serve. That's where salvation is. Forget about yourself and serve. And I have found this tremendously helpful through these many, many years, because that is a real key to service. If we think, oh, I'm serving, and you know what? I'm really good at it. And I'm serving a lot better than that guy over there. He's not serving half as much as I am. I'm really a star at serving, and why don't people notice that I am serving? That's the ego. But all of that is part of the process. It's the beginning stage, because service purifies the ego. That's why the Gita says, action without desire for the fruit of action. We have to forget about the self and serve. But that's only half of it. How we serve is the other half. Serving is a self-offering to God. So if we forget about ourselves and think only, what can I give to God? How can I perform this action? And it doesn't have to be creating a space shuttle. It doesn't have to be rocket science. It can be washing the dishes, or doing the laundry, or cleaning the house, or helping in any way without thinking about yourself, and with thinking instead, Lord, I am doing this for you. Not comparing myself to anybody else. That's like Martha and Mary. Martha saying, she's not serving. Don't think about that. Think about how much I love thee. How can I serve thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? That service helps your meditation, because that awakened devotion helps you to perceive the true reality of things. You know, the times that I have had the chance to meditate deeply and for a long period of time have created a very interesting perception. When I sit to meditate, I automatically think, oh, yeah, this is the reality. All that out there is just duality. This is who I really am. That's what we want, and that's the first step to realizing the self. That's our path, right? Self-realization. We want to get to that point where we realize, just like the Guru told Buffy, the meaning of life, the secret of happiness, is within each of us. So, as we continue on this path, let us find renewed energy and renewed commitment to not get caught by all the distractions of this world, and instead have that chant in our minds that we were just singing. Engrossed is the bee of my mind on the blue lotus feet of my Divine Mother. That's how we get rid of the distractions. It's so difficult in this hyped up world where there's so much going on and so much expected of us. But if we can keep bringing it back to that idea, that feeling of love for God. And if we don't feel love at first, then just reference everything to him, to her, to that which you find dear. Just keep saying, help me to understand. Bring me closer to you. What is this reality? Ask all the age-old questions. Who am I? Why am I here? This is the beginning of the journey for every seeker. What is my purpose in life? And instead of just going, okay, well, that's too confusing. What's for lunch? Stick with it. Don't give up. Don't just turn on the TV and zone out. This life is so short. We have so little time. We can only sit in meditation for so long before the knees go out, the back goes out, we get into all the ways that, oh, I just can't sit to meditate. I'll just watch television instead. Don't give in to that. Focus your mind and keep asking. That's why study is so important, because we fill our minds with these thoughts that keep us going. Go deep, and you will become like that great ocean liner. The little passing waves of this trauma and that disappointment and all the ups and downs of life won't affect you, because you are grounded deeply in spirit. And the intuitive perception that comes through meditation will free you from all fear and all anger and everything else that's associated with the ego. We will, instead of clinging to this little piece of flesh and blood that we think we are, we will realize ourselves as the infinite reality. That's what we were born for.
This blessing of the Divine Mother that has taken human form, we all owe our lives to our mothers, and we all owe our existence to the divine love that the mother is an instrument for. I, of course, owe my life to my mother in the same sense that all of us do, but my story is rather a little more particular, because I owe my life to my mother on another level as well, because I was kidnapped when I was 3 weeks old. This is a story that's perhaps a little unusual, But I was kidnapped by my mother with my father's support. It may sound a little peculiar for two parents to kidnap their child, but I have a twin sister. We were born 3 weeks early. We were small. My sister was larger than I. I was 4 pounds and some ounces. She was 5.5 pounds. So she was allowed to go home at birth, but I was held in the hospital for 3 weeks. So around the time that we were due is the time that my mom came to the hospital, and I never did get up to the 5-pound mark, which was the kind of the cutoff point where they would let you go home. My mom simply said, "Give me that baby. I'm a registered nurse. I'm going home." In other words, stop me if you dare. But and I have to think, as I sort of look across the years, I have to think that's not only saved my life, because I don't think I could have lasted a whole lot longer in the hospital, because existence is not life, food is not nurture. But interestingly, I look at those 3 weeks as a kind of dividing point. And I think of Swamiji's life and how in early childhood he was separated from his family for quite some time, sent to Switzerland and later on in boarding school in England. And that separation from the family created an opportunity later on. A seed was planted in which he could go on to seek God. And similarly with Master, his mother was taken from him when he was 11 years old, and he suffered greatly for that loss. She was the Divine Mother in human manifestation for him. And so all of us, in one way or another, if we're going to embrace the path, will often have to separate on one level or another. But that divine love that brought every one of us into this world is what we honor, especially on Mother's Day. But we also honor the human manifestations through which it passes, through which it comes to each of us. And that blessing, they don't have an Olympic gold medal for who is the best mother in the world. It's just one of those things that you can't sort of quantify, 9.9, oh, whoops, she only got 9.7. There isn't one of those in this world. And yet, for each of us, that love is special and is blessed. I was reflecting on Master's counsel that we be calmly active and actively calm, and Nirmala's example of the boat moving through the ocean. I didn't have the opportunity to know Swamiji's mother in this lifetime. She was in the Bay Area, and I was at Ananda village, and she passed away before very many years had gone by in my time on the path. But I respected the example that Swamiji would share of her life and the refinement that she had. And I wanted to just read a brief couple of paragraphs about her, because there's a grace that she brought that is badly needed in this world today. She was a natural aristocrat in the best sense of the word, cultured, refined, not at all snobbish. I love to be this is written by a family friend who knew her when she was a child. I love to be anywhere with Gertrude. When she and Don, meaning Swamiji, were together, their spiritual connection was like an aura around them. I remember on a ski trip seeing them walking together. It was as if they were in a world of their own. She had perfect manners and a certain graceful elegance in everything she did. I remember a formal dinner party with servants bringing out each of the courses. No one paid any attention to the servers except Gertrude. Whenever a plate was put in front of her, she would turn and look into the eyes of the person who brought it and thank him for it. It was a small thing, but it showed her character. We had the opportunity to know someone a little bit like that in India some years ago. And she was the wife of Sri Kartikeyan, who came and spoke here and who has come to Ananda village quite a number of times. And I have to say, getting to know her helped me to understand Swamiji's mother on a deeper level, because she had this refinement, and at the same time she made everyone comfortable. She was in this position of dealing with all levels of society, from the very top, from heads of state, literally heads of state, passing either through their home or through large functions that they were attending, all the way to the people who were cleaning the house or doing whatever help was needed in the home. I remember Kartikeyan invited us to his home. He called it his humble home, and I thought, I don't know how humble this is going to be, because he was someone who moved at the top level of government. I remember being a little in awe, because the first time he arrived at our house, it was with a police escort, and the police were the ones who knocked on the door. And so it was like, whoa, who is this? What's happening here? And when we went to his home, the guards at the gate were carrying automatic weapons, and it was like, whoa, where are we? And yet, when we went inside, we were foreigners in India, sort of a little bit at concern. Swamiji much less so, of course, but for all of us, the thought of, let's don't make a wrong move here. Let's don't cause offense. Let's don't say the wrong thing or just in some way be out of step with what's trying to happen. And as soon as we met her, it was like complete comfort. And I realized later on, in reflecting on her example, she could make everyone feel safe and happy and welcome, especially. And I thought, what a gift to be able to give the world, because, and particularly, this is the part that it kind of surprised me as I thought about it, if you're working with heads of state and you can make them feel welcome and appreciated and understood and accepted, how much more harmony is going to come into this world? What a blessing to be able to do that. I remember when Sri Kartikeyan arranged a meeting with Swamiji and the President of India, and Nirmala and I had the blessing to be part of that meeting. And so we were ushered into the sitting room, the waiting room at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi, the presidential palace. And we waited for this meeting to come, and then we were ushered in to meet the president. And again, I felt that same hominess. We were meeting India. We were meeting India, literally, in that figure. And yet there was no snobbishness. There was no sort of, well, we know what we're about, and you foreigners, you whatever. No, we're all part of the divine life. And all of us should honor the channels through which that comes into our lives, the blessings through which that comes, because we are all of us potential manifestations of the Divine Mother, or channels for the Divine Mother's love and energy in this world, which is urgently and badly needed. And it is a nurturing love. It is a love that remembers why it's serving. Just as in the reading today, talking about Martha and Mary, the juxtaposition is not either meditate or serve. It's meditate in a serviceful way, serve in a meditative way, and bring both of them together so that your life is an offering to God. Your life is a gift to God. How shall I serve thee, Lord my God, with every breath, with every gust of my prayer, with every openness of heart to help someone in whatever way that I can. This is the example that we saw with Swamiji. Everything about his life was to help someone else. And yes, he still had to have private time for himself, a little bit around the edges, but his private time was always available to the Divine Mother. If she woke him up at 2 or 3 in the night and gave him an inspiration, he would march right to the computer or the napkin or the piece of paper or whatever it might be, and he would start working on that so that he had something to share with the universe. Let us all be open to whatever she is trying to whisper in our ear. However she can move through our hearts, our voices, our hands, let us be open to that, because this world very, very much needs it, and we ourselves are eternally blessed to be her channels in this world.